everybody. My name is Shana Michelle Rabonda, and we also have Tolu Agunbiade, and we are Leadership Core faculty at the African Leadership University. I am located in Mauritius, and Tolu, where are you located?
I'm in Rwanda.
Yes. And we are here to talk to you today about what the Leadership Core program is and answer any questions that you might have. So by way of introduction, I'm Shana Michelle, and I am responsible for the Leadership Core team here in Mauritius, and I also teach one of the 4 Leadership Core courses called Projects. Tolu?
I'm not responsible for the team here in Rwanda, but I teach the Entrepreneurial Leadership course. It's also one of the 4 core courses for the Leadership Core.
Thank you, Tolu. So we'll begin by just giving you an overview of what the Leadership Core program is, and I'll be taking you through that. And afterwards, Tolu and I will answer any questions that you might have if you want to know a little bit more about Leadership Core. We're very excited for you to join us today, and we'll kick it off now. So what is the Leadership Core actually? It is something that is very unique and developed by ourselves here at ALU. It is the first year program that every single student goes through when they enroll at ALU. So when you come to ALU, whether you come to the ALC campus in Mauritius or you go to our campus in Kigali, Rwanda, you will all go through the Leadership Core program in your first year, regardless of the major that you want to go into, regardless of the mission that you want to declare, you will all go through the Leadership Core program. The program is comprised of 4 different courses that a student goes through, and the courses are Communicating for Impact, Data and Decisions, Entrepreneurial Leadership, as well as Projects. And those 4 courses, we believe, give students the skills and the foundation in order to prepare for the working world, because after your first year program, you go out on internships for 4 months, and will also prepare you to then excel in your respective majors that you go into after your first year. So what are the 4 courses in Leadership Core? The first one is Communicating for Impact, which is not typical writing or academic writing course, but it's a course where you learn how to do academic writing, you learn how to we do new media for professionals, and basically how do you communicate across different audiences and across different mediums. So you get to learn the foundations of how to write an academic essay or an academic paper, and you also get to do exciting things like working with social media, as that's another means of communication in the 21st century. Then we have the Data and Decisions course, which is not a mathematics course, but we do believe that it is essential for every single person to have some element of working with numbers. So one of the skills you learn is Quantitative Reasoning, where you learn how to use data and numbers, but for making decisions. So in your typical math class, you'd learn things like calculus and trigonometry and solving for X and Y and Z, but sometimes you don't know how that actually applies to the real world. And for us at ALU, we believe that it's extremely important that every single thing you learn can be translated into the real world, whether it is for going on an internship or getting a job or launching your venture, etc., etc. We believe that whatever you learn is applicable in your day-to-day life. So for Data and Decisions, you work with data and numbers, and you learn how to make decisions. You learn how to do estimates. You learn how to test hypotheses, and you learn all these cool things like optimization and modeling. And it's a really, really cool course. A lot of our students come in feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do numbers and maths. It's so scary. And at the end of the year, they find that Data and Decisions is actually one of their favorite courses because they know how to use numbers and data, no matter the major that they go into. Then our third course, which Tolu teaches, is called Entrepreneurial Leadership. And that's one of our really, really cool courses because it's not something that's typically taught in higher education institutions or education institutions, where we think about how do you learn how to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, but also how do you become a leader. So we think about entrepreneurial leadership is not just about, building a business or a venture and launching the next Facebook or building this awesome catering company or whatever it is that you're interested in, but it's about how do I solve problems and how do I solve problems with a human-centered approach. So thinking about the different elements around what is the problem that I'm solving for, what is the solution to solve this problem, and it's also closely linked to the global challenges and the opportunities that we are seeking to solve for the continent. So you also learn about what does it mean to be a leader, Like, what are my values, what drives me, etc., and how do I lead myself, and also how do I learn to engage with and lead other people. Then the final course, which is the course that I teach, my favorite, is the projects course, which is a course where you get to engage with real life projects. So we give you a problem that you solve, and this problem is in the form of a problem that real organizations are actually facing. And you actually get to work with real people in real organizations who have a problem. An example is working with Uber. We've worked with Uber a few years ago, where they wanted to know, okay, we've launched our Uber services in Africa, but we still don't have a big presence in sub-Saharan Africa. Which would be the best country for us to expand to? And this is something they gave our students to solve. And the students came up with a framework for how to determine which country Uber needs to expand to. And a lot of the countries that have expanded to in sub-Saharan Africa were also recommendations that came through from our students. So that also strongly ties in with the real world skills that we are hoping students build within the leadership core. Although the 4 courses in Leadership Core are distinct in that you have specific classes for entrepreneurial leadership or for data and decisions, a lot of them come together, and a lot of the skills that we teach you are applied across the 4 courses, although some will come across more heavily. And the skills that I'm talking about, we have mapped out in something we call our 7 meta skills. So our 7 meta skills is a framework that we have developed at ALU when you think about what are the important skills that our students will need to succeed in the working world, in the world where they have to go out and pursue their majors and they want to do really, really amazing things in order to make this continent a better place. And those 7 meta skills are the foundation for what you do at ALU. I'll take you quickly through what the 7 meta skills are. Our 7 meta skills are communication for impact, which comes across heavily in communicating for impact. It's about how do you communicate effectively with different audiences across different mediums. We have quantitative reasoning, which is about, basing your reasons on quantitative things and numbers, etc. We have entrepreneurial thinking, which makes you think about how do you solve problems, how do you apply systems thinking to your approach. Managing complex tasks, how do you take a big problem and how do you break that down into solvable components? So I took you through communicating for impact, entrepreneurial thinking, managing complex tasks. We also have leading self. So how do I, as a person, lead myself? What are my values? What are the things that drive me, etc., etc.? Then we also have engaging others. So how do I work with others? How am I able to give other people feedback? How do I work effectively in a team? And peer learning is something that is so important at ALU. You will find that every single week with the work that you are doing, you have to collaborate with your peers. And the final meta skill is critical thinking, which is something that is really, really important, and you will consistently apply not only in your leadership core, but in your internships, and as you then proceed to your majors and you focus on your mission, etc., etc. You need to think about how do I engage critically with the world? How do I ask the right questions through rigorous inquiries to make sure that I'm solving the right problems, etc., etc. And then we have the 7 meta skills, and our 4 courses are really, really focused on ensuring that we give our students a strong foundation in those meta skills. And we believe that regardless of your major, whether you want to do social sciences in the Mauritius campus, or you want to do global challenges, or computer science in the Rwanda campus, you have a strong foundation in your major that you're going into, and make sure that all our students have the same base and same foundation, regardless of their major. And our students have been very successful as they've gone on to proceed into their majors. And also after their first year, they've been successful in their internship journeys, where after a year of working through the leadership core, they get to go out and work at different companies across the continent and sometimes abroad. And the students really get to see what is the application of what they have learned. So something that really pride ourselves on is that we're not only teaching our students just a typical first-year academic program that you will need to proceed into your majors in university, but you're also learning 21st century skills that are going to help you in your working world, and also as you proceed with your major and you think about what your mission is for the future. And that is a summary of what the leadership core is. Cool. I think we have a question. I will read out the question and then Tolu will answer the question for us. So the first question that we have is, can we start our degree program without doing the leadership core?
That's a great question. Just going back to what you had mentioned, Shana, the leadership core course was developed to get all our students off to the right start. So to answer the question directly, no, You cannot start your degree programs without first doing leadership core. The reason for this is everything you learn in leadership core prepares you for two things. Just referencing what Shana said again. One, the internships that you'll do at the end of the first year and even beyond, but also two, to make sure that all students have a common baseline for going into their majors and the degree program. So the leadership core courses are a prerequisite and they are mandatory for all students. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Nothing at all. Thank you, Tolu. We also have another question. That leadership core prepare me with some of the hard skills that I will need in my degree programs? For example, will they help me with writing for social sciences? Will they help me with my computer science major?
In more ways than one, yes, it prepares you for your degree programs. Just referencing again the last question, the two main things that leadership core prepares you for, among others, is one, your internships, but also two, your degree programs. So using that same example, if you were a computer science student wanting to study computer science, and you started out with leadership core, some foundations you will take in data and decisions will prepare you a lot for what you'll do in your computer science course. Similarly, things you will learn in communicating for impact around academic writing and communicating your ideas and research that you actually do. Research, as an example, is something you do in communicating for impact, in projects, and in entrepreneurial leadership. And all these things give you different lenses on research that you then end up using in your social science, among other degree programs that you'll go in for.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Somebody else has said that they've heard about programs like Seminal Readings and Growth Week. Could you tell us more about what those actually are?
So I'll start with Seminal Readings, and I hope that you take on Growth Week. Seminal Readings is one of our, we call them signature experiences. So you'll learn a bit more about those when you come into ALU, because we hope you do. And signature experiences are things that go beyond the academics of things, but give you a robust learning experience. With Seminal Readings, once every term, I believe, students get together in reading groups to study different themes. And this enhances particularly our meta skill of critical thinking. So right now we've had two different things. One is around identity, understanding where you're from, how your background and your context shapes the things that you end up pursuing or the person that you've become. And right after that, we have another one around the good society. So now that you have a sense for who you are, how do you make sure that you're building the good society? In this Seminal Readings, we get together a couple of texts. I was about to say Seminal Readings again, but I'm trying not to use the word to define what it is. So we get a collection of text materials, resources from scholars, from authors, people like Chimamanda, people like, because I'm Nigerian, I have to name her first, people like Mahmoud Mamdani, and we read those pieces together to have a shared collective understanding of certain concepts and to also share ideas and experiences about the things that we do. I hope that answers the question. If I missed anything, Shana, please include it for me. And over to you for Growth Week.
Oh, I think you've summed it up perfectly. And these things like Seminal Readings and Growth Weeks are things we call signature experiences. So we believe that the Leadership Core program isn't just about you coming to class, submitting assignments, etc., etc. We also have activities or events that we incorporate into the curriculum where students can come in and also think about, we believe that students are holistic people. You come with your whole selves. So we don't just want you to always think about your assignments and deadlines and what you're learning in class, but engaging in things like Seminal Readings, where we get to think critically about texts that make us think about who we are and what our place is in the world. And Growth Week is another event that helps us also think about that. And it also takes place for a week. And this is an opportunity for students to really think about who they are and what were their missions and their passions before they came to ALU. Because we believe that ALU is a space where you really think about what your mission and what your life purpose is. And as you come here, you go through a journey and learn different things that help you fulfill that. So Growth Week is a week where you think about, what is really, really important to you as a person, and using that time to really think about how do I achieve what it is that I want to achieve, or is there a particular skill that I want to learn? a few of our students for Growth Week, for example, wanted to learn how to play a certain song or a guitar. Or certain students were thinking about, how do I put together a proposal for this awesome business idea that I've had? Or how do I do a lot more community work? How do I maybe go out and do some service in the community within that week? So you get some time to just reflect and just pause and just think about what are the things that are important to me, and you don't have any academic programming at that time, so that you can really focus on the things that are important to you. Okay, I think that is it. We have another question, few questions coming up. How do we ensure that students from different cultural backgrounds work together? A very interesting question. I can actually answer that one because the project course that I teach, students work together all day, every day. So as we are a university that is constituted of students from all over the continent, and it's something that we love and we pride ourselves on, as it's one of the ways that diversity manifests. We have students from literally North, South, East, West Africa. And our staff body is also representative of that. And sometimes you find that students come from different backgrounds and have different ways of approaching different things. Simple things like some students are very more introverted and some students are extroverted. Some students have certain ways of working or communicating based on their backgrounds, etc., etc. What we do when the students immediately come in the year is the classes that you are in are devised in a way that it's a mix of gender and it's a mix of nationalities as well. And you also have to work in peer groups throughout the year. So every single time you are working throughout the academic year in leadership core, you will have a peer group that you are assigned to, and that peer group will also be a diverse peer group. So you're never going to find a peer group with 4 Kenyans or 5 Kenyan students. You're going to have a peer group with a Kenyan student, a Moroccan student, a Nigerian student, a Zambian student, for example. And what we do is we're very deliberate about collaboration, as it's something that's so important to us. So firstly, you are immersed in a community where you work with different people. The students are different, have different backgrounds, and so do the staff. And we definitely emphasize the importance of collaboration, and a lot of the tools that we teach as well, which directly come out in the Entrepreneurial Leadership course, actually are how to, build things like self-awareness, to understand who you are and your place in the world. And then we also engage with students on how to work with other people. So that's engaging with others. How do you give people feedback? How do you learn to work with people who have different opinions than you, etc., etc. So it's something we're very deliberate about, because when you go into the working world, or you launch a business of yours, or you go into academia, for example, you're going to have to work with a lot of people who are different from you, and that's something that we pride ourselves on at AO. Okay.
I wanted to add something to that about how things like our signature experiences actually help people who are from different backgrounds to talk through or exchange ideas about them. For example, when we talked about identity and people's backgrounds and contexts, we saw that students from all over the world were sharing what their perspectives were. And that cultural exchange was really important for them to understand where other people were coming from. In addition to that, there is the culture series that the Student Life does. I know they do it here in Rwanda, and I assume they do it also in Mauritius. And that those programs are also supposed to help our students understand, yes, the culture of ALU, but also each other's culture and how they can interact with each other. That's it.
Cool. Do you have any other questions on your end, Tolu?
Yes, I have a few questions here. I'm going to take like 3 of them. I'm going to throw one your way, but you won't know which one. One of the questions I have here is, have students gone on to start their own enterprises after completing entrepreneurial leadership? The answer to that is yes. There have been a few students who, from the ideas they had here in the EL course, the Entrepreneurial Leadership course, went on to start that. This actually ties into the second question, so I'm going to take them as one, and then kind of emphasize different things from them. So the second question was, what support is available for me if I wanted to make my entrepreneurial idea a reality? So back to the first, yes, students have realized a passion that they had and used the entrepreneurial leadership space as a way to come up with or develop the ideas they had, whether that is starting some kind of education outfit in their countries, or starting the Uber for ALU, where students get together and ride taxis together to ride share. Such ideas have come up. Now, after the first year, and even during the first year, we have a program called the Student Ventures Program. It's run by our Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. And what we do is we take people's ideas, students' ideas, beyond the classroom into the real world. So they have opportunities to practice and enhance and build and grow their ideas in a way that is not tied to the academics, but is motivated by them. Such programs like that help our students. And what I love about that program is not just one program that somebody runs, is something that has been all encompassing, that involves a lot of the community. For example, we have staff members who run businesses and can serve as coaches for our students. A good example of how students have taken their ideas and gotten support beyond the classroom with the Student Ventures program is more recently in Rwanda, our students participated in the Hall Prize. The Hall Prize is a competition that happens once a year for university students, and our students came top, so they won $10,000 in the program, and they're going on to the international stage in the UK. That's just one example of ideas that have gone beyond the classroom, been supported by additional programs within ALU, and have gone on to do bigger things outside of the school environment. Another question I have here that I'm going to send over to you, Ms. Shauna. What is the workload like in Leadership Core, and what level of challenge should we expect?
Interesting question. It is not easy. I will start off by saying the Leadership Core program is rigorous. It will expect you to push yourself. And not just from, submitting assignments or, oh, this is difficult, etc., etc. We push you on different levels because we believe that your learning is holistic. So we have our learning principles called a SHIP. So we believe that your learning is active, it's social, it's holistic, it's integrated, and it's personal. So when students come to ALU, firstly, most of them are away from home, right? We have a lot of students, both in Rwanda and Mauritius, that are from Rwanda or Mauritius and who come to our respective campuses. We also have a few Rwandese students who actually come to our Mauritian campus. And the way that things happen is that we expect students to own a lot of their experiences and their journeys. And it's the first time for a lot of them living in a space or a community where there's people from so many different backgrounds. And you're also coming into an education space where everybody is looking to challenge themselves and push themselves, etc. So you'll be challenged on many fronts. Firstly, you will be challenged on, yes, the academic workload, because we expect students to push themselves and work with new things. For example, a lot of students might have done writing courses or might have done mathematics or quantitative courses, but they may have never done a course around leadership or entrepreneurship or a course around solving problems for real organizations. So a lot of that work will be different from them, but they have the benefit of having faculty who are really supportive and who have an eye on the students' learning journey and who are open. So we have things like beyond the classroom office hours, where there's dedicated time where you can come and see your faculty and ask questions. You can reach out directly to your faculty if you have questions, etc., etc. So there's a community there that's really supportive of the students. Students are also going to be challenged on the quality that they're expected to deliver. So if you think about a course like projects, if you're presenting to an external client who has potentially worked with consultants and a company who works with people who have degrees and who've graduated, etc., etc., they have a certain bar of excellence that they require, and you're going to have to present that to them. You're also going to be challenged in terms of, work with others, where you consistently have to work in peer groups and work with and collaborate with different people. Thinking about how do you address things like conflict, how do you give your peers feedback, but also how do you enable your peers to work together and how do you guys learn from each other? So it is going to be challenging, but as our students complete the leadership core here, they come out much better and stronger, and it's even better once they return from 4 months of internships after just a year of learning at a university. And so many of them say it's been very transformative, and I can see the changes that are occurring. So I would say it is going to be challenging. It's going to challenge you as a person. It's going to challenge who you think you are, what you think your values are, etc., etc. But our students always come out better at the end of the day, having a very strong community of faculty, of staff, and as well as students who are senior students who are in their second or third years in their degrees. Anything to add, Tolu?
No, that works nicely. Thanks.
Awesome. A quick question for you.
Yes.
Is Leadership Core graded?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell us how it works?
Sure. Okay. So the way Leadership Core works is a term is divided into 2 units. That's what we call them. And in each unit, you have a series of formative or continuous assessment, depending on what language you're familiar with, and summative or end of unit assessments. The formative assessments are the building blocks that get you to understanding whatever concepts or knowledge is being or skills are being shared or taught in that unit. And at the end of the unit, you have the summative, which is the bigger one that everything adds up to. Now, in the leadership core, you get to do those two things, where at the end, most of them are project-based. You and your team or you individually produce a larger assignment. And this assignment is graded on a 1 to 5 scale. So we have things called our learning outcomes that tie into our rubrics, that tie into the grades that you then get at the end of the unit. Don't worry if you don't understand any of this just yet. Once you get here, it'll make more sense to you. All you need to remember is every term has 2 units. Every unit has 2 types of assessments, a formative, which is the building block, and a summative, which is the end of unit assessment. You're graded on how you perform on your formative and your summative. And depending on the course, the different weightings for each component of that. At the end, we consolidate that into your final grade, which is again ranked on a scale of 1 to 5, corresponding to how you performed in the assessment you were given. Would you like to add anything to that?
Perfect. Nothing else to add.
Great.
2 more questions. I will take this one and you can take the last one.
It depends on what the questions are. We might just share them, but we'll see.
Fine, you can choose. Is there anything you suggest that the students do over this time period to prepare them for success in leadership core?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, this is a good start. Attending webinars like this is a really good start to getting prepared for leadership core because it gives you a sense for what we expect and what you would go through when you're here. If there are any more webinars like this, I'll encourage you to attend them because they'll be very helpful. As Ms. Shana mentioned earlier, we have certain meta skills, and a lot of what we do is geared around leadership, project-based learning, problem solving, critical thinking, quantitative reasoning. If you have the internet, which you definitely have if you're on this webinar, please just go on and research what those things mean. I will encourage you to not wait until you're here to start getting a sense for what it means to be self-aware or what it means to be a problem solver or what data means. Because if you're able to do that, if you're able to start learning the foundations, it becomes not easier, but definitely more engaging for you in the leadership core. So do a lot of self-studying. Ask a lot of questions, leverage all the channels that are available for you from the admissions and the recruitment team, attend these webinars, and reach out to us or other students here to get a sense for things that you should prepare for or learn about. Would you like to add anything to that?
Nope, perfect. And I think speaking to what you were saying, if you're prepared and you are very keen to learn a bit more and you show that willingness, because even in leadership core, there are opportunities for you to go above and beyond. And if you can already start taking those steps, then you're good to go.
Yes.
The last question for me, which because you've already answered if you so desire, is what are the skills that I will gain at the end of leadership core as a student? So that's a really good question. And a lot of this is tied to the 7 meta skills we told you about. If you felt like we're going too fast, please do go to the website. We have a lovely visual that you can see there. But I can tell you just a summary of what you will learn. So if I think about things like entrepreneurial thinking, you will learn key skills like human-centered design. So if there's a problem that I need to solve, how do I think about the user or the person who I'm solving it for? When I think about critical thinking, like when I solve problems, what are the things I need to do in order to get to solve that problem? What are the questions that I need to ask? What is the research that I need to do, etc.? You will also learn things like how to communicate with different people over different mediums. You will learn about yourself, like building self-awareness. What are my values? What drives me? What are my beliefs, etc., etc. You will learn things like projects. So in the projects course, you will learn things like how to create a work plan or like a project plan to map out the tasks that you need to have. You're also really going to focus on problem solving, which comes through across all the different courses. For data and decision, you're going to learn how to actually research. So research information, written information, but also research quantitative information. And when you want to make decisions, how do I actually use the information that I have to make these thoughtful decisions? There's a lot that you're going to learn, collaboration as well. You're going to be put in a space where you have to work with different people, which is really, really going to serve you as you think about your mission, as you think about going on an internship, as you think about progressing into your respective major or degree program. There are a lot of skills that you're going to learn, but if you want more information, just look up our 7 meta skills once again, and you can get a taste of the different skills that we are teaching you across the year. A lovely thing also is that most of the skills you will learn in more than one course, because we believe that we see Leadership Core as one integrated, holistic piece. We don't have any other questions, so Tolu and I are going to say goodbye.
It's been a pleasure answering all these questions. Thank you all. Hope you enjoyed this. Please keep the question coming after the webinar.
Thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to seeing some of you next year. Bye.
Bye.
This year, actually. Bye.
Yes, this year. Bye.